headphones that I need to get rid of for $75 and 4 boom arms.
Welcome to This Week in Real Estate with Jonathan Harmon. Listen in as him and other members of the J Harmon Home Team speak about all things real estate with local experts here in the Middle Tennessee area. Be sure to check out jharmonhometeam.com for more information and how to get in touch with our amazing team. Welcome to the show.
Well, good morning, everybody. I forget how long this song keeps going. I'm feeling inspired right now. I feel like I should be punching a beanbag right now. No, Trent's mic's not working.
There it is.
There it is.
Here. I'm back.
Good morning, Trent.
Good morning, Jonathan.
We got a live studio audience today.
Jonathan's here. Jonas is here.
Jonas is here.
Yeah.
They're on spring break this week, so I was like, "Hey, man, you're coming to hang out with me," and he was like, "Oh." And I was like, into it? And I said, "You get to drive." He was like, "Okay."
Is that Mitch Hedberg?
Yeah, something like that.
Like
it's actually Brad Warden, my buddy down in Chattanooga. That's the Brad Warden. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, I'm Jonathan Harmon with the J Harmon Home Team of Keller Williams, and I've got my friend Nick Howell here. Nick and I go way back.
Yeah.
And I knew Nick before Nick was the current Nick.
We both had hair.
You still have more than I do. And then I look over at Jonas and I'm like, dang, son, now look at that luscious locks.
Flowing locks.
Shaking it out. He's got freaking Fabio going on over there. It's awesome.
I used to not be able to feel the sun on top of my head, and I was out with Madiha yesterday, and man, I can feel the sun burning on top of my head right now. It's a new sensation.
We had a yard sale on Saturday, and I have a sunburn on my head. It's like the entire top of my chrome dome is burnt. I washed my head today, and I was like, oh, that hurts.
Yeah. I played golf yesterday. Same thing.
Yeah.
This morning.
It's terrible.
Oh, well.
It's terrible. Well, I'll tell y'all, like my grandma has encouraged me.
Yes, man. I love this quote.
God made so many perfect heads, and the rest he put hair on.
Yeah.
Yes.
It keeps me going at night.
Yeah.
Same.
Same.
It's like when I'm feeling down, I'm like, what did Grandma say? Yeah, it's
That's
better.
real.
Yeah, that's it. I got to have dinner with my grandma last night. I love that lady. She is awesome. So, and if you have it in you, say a prayer for her. She's struggling with her knee, and she's got some kind of little infection on her leg. She's supposed to have knee replacement surgery, and they can't do that until that infection is gone. So
prayers up for sure. Prayers up.
She is.
What's her name?
Hobbling. Frances Wright.
Frances Wright.
Got you. Yep, she's amazing. So I've got Nick Howell here with me, and Nick is a real estate investor, like a real one, not just one that says that he is one, which we have lots and lots of those in our area. And Nick does a lot of things. Most of what you correct me if I'm wrong, but you do a whole lot of purchase and repair and sell, right? A lot of flipping.
Yes.
But you tend to do it right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because you can do it wrong.
Yes, very
You
much
can
so.
definitely do it wrong.
Yes.
And you can lose way more money than you can make sometimes if you do it wrong. So we're going to talk investing. We've actually got an event coming up on Monday of next week, 1 week from today, by the way, at Cedar Glade Brews. We're going to have Real Estate Investing 101, and it is intro. I've never invested in real estate before, ever. And how do I get started on that?
It's a great topic.
It is a great topic. So we've got Tab Talbot's going to come in. He's an attorney here. He's going to talk about protecting those investments, protecting yourself through LLCs and things like that. Mm-hmm. The legacy aspect of it, like the trusts and all those kind of things. Mm-hmm. We got Brian Derryberry coming in. Awesome. I know you know Brian.
Yes, I do.
Brian's a unique fella. And we've actually got an open seat. Would you be interested in being the third person on the panel?
I would be, but I'm hosting also an event that Monday night as well.
Is it going to be as big as ours? Is it in a brewery?
It is not in a brewery, it's in a church.
There's a no-brainer. But anyway, it's going to be a fun time, and we're just going to talk. If you've never invested in real estate, this would be a good thing for you to come and attend and just hear the basics. Because here's what I've discovered. And you tell me if I'm off base on this. There's a lot of people that are very interested in it.
Yes.
And so they start looking online. They start listening to fill in the blank with whoever is a current influencer in that usually means that they've had a couple of successful deals and now they're going to tell the world how to do it. Mm-hmm. and all of a sudden they feel like they know what they're doing, and they get started, and then they're hit with, like immediately with that first kind of curveball.
Yes.
And then they're almost embarrassed to actually seek guidance on that because they feel like they should have already known that. They should have been prepared for that. And the reality is, again, correct me if I'm wrong, every single deal is different.
Yes.
Even if this one is similar to this one,
yes,
there's going to be something that you're going to be like, didn't see that coming.
Yes. I'm third generation, so my dad built, my mom's dad built, my dad's dad built. So this is, and my brothers, all four of us were in some aspect of real estate.
Right.
And there's still things I have no idea. My dad doesn't know. My uncles don't know. My great uncle that just died doesn't know. Like it's,
and we're talking thousands of deals between you.
Yes. Yeah. It's just, there's always something to learn. There's always some kind of mistake that you're going to make. You just have to keep it rolling with the punches.
Yeah.
And you're not always going to win. You're going to have some losses. It's just, it's the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just got to minimize them.
And because, and that isolation that I've done my research kind of plague that we're in right now, which done my research means I've watched some YouTube videos, which is not your research. I'm just telling you. It actually ends up isolating you, and you probably fail harder than if you had associated yourself with someone that was willing to help you and you could put your heads together and think through it, because it's not necessarily having the answer. It's about how you can figure out how to get the answer and who to get the answer from.
Yes. What do you think the biggest mistake when you're buying an investment property? What do you think it is? There's two of them that come to mind with me.
Overpaying on the front end.
Yes.
And underestimating the repairs.
Yes. I would completely agree with that. But also on your side of it is not knowing what it's worth, because you cannot know what to pay for it unless you know what it's worth.
What it's going to be worth.
What it's going to be worth once it's fixed up. And the other thing is expecting appreciation. That is the stupidest, fastest way to go bankrupt.
Yeah.
In any market. I don't care. The last 3 years have been gangbusters for the most part.
You can't bank on that. That's gravy money, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So when I'm looking at something, I never ever look at the top one at all. The top comp. I'm not going to get it. I've never gotten it. I'm not one of those people that's just lucky. I've got friends that will flip a property. There's no comps whatsoever, and they'll still sell it above market price. How? I have no idea. I am not that lucky. I'm okay with that. But you've got to have an agent or access to the MLS of some kind, or a good comping service to know that this house fixed up is going to be worth $300,000. So the maximum I can pay for it is my 70% minus repairs, because you're going to have 10% in closing costs. You're going to have holding fees, insurance, things like that. And then you've got to figure out what's your factor on fixing it up.
Well, and so you said like a lot, by the way. So in that, but part of that is also there's a value to your time that you're holding it, right? So especially if you take any kind of loan out on it, right?
Yes.
So if you, and even if you have cash, you've got it tied up in something that's not doing anything at that moment. So if I'm looking at deals and my holding costs on that, it's finished product, and I sit on it for a month, that costs me money.
Oh yeah.
And potentially costs me a lot of money if somebody breaks into it, if something terrible happens. Any number of things, right? Plus, again, that capital is tied up over here and can't be put in the next one. So part of what you're saying makes sense. Is it wiser to hold out for that top number, or is it better to have kind of a middle high number that you're like, this number makes sense?
Yes.
And then just go with that when we get to that number?
I would go with the second option, because velocity of money, you've got to keep it moving.
That's it.
Because if it takes you an extra 2 or 3 months to get that price,
you've already spent it.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I'm in a situation right now. I've got one that's had, I talked to my dad about it on the way here, 72 showings and just nothing. And so
72 showings is the price.
Yeah.
That's the only thing it can be.
Yeah, I keep dropping the price. And so that's what I told my dad. It's like, we're going to have to drop the price. We're getting showings. People love it.
Yeah.
It's the price. And so
the other thing you said, and this to me is where the true artistry comes in, right? This is what's going to make or break you as a successful house flipper, in my opinion. Okay. We identify a property. We spend $150K to acquire this property, and it's full of cat pee or whatever, right? That's an inside joke. We've worked on some cat pee houses, yeah. So we identify this property, and then you said, "What's it worth fixed up?"
Yes.
Well, that is an incredibly nebulous term.
Correct.
What does fixed up mean?
Yes.
Right? And so if you got to remember that you're not necessarily fixing it up for you.
Correct. This is not HGTV.
Nope. And so can we put a couple of touches in here that are going to wow people and do it inexpensively,
yes.
whether we have a good craftsman, whether we do it ourselves, whatever. And then to what level do we fix it up? We put tile in the bathroom. Great. But do we spend $20 a square foot on the tile? No, absolutely not. Unless it makes sense to, because it's a,
Are you in East Nashville, West End? Are you
right.
like I was counting up how many different counties I've done flips in. Like, I'm not going to do the same thing that I did the flip in Lincoln County and in Canyon County and DeKalb County that I'm going to do in Rutherford and Davison County.
Doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense. You're not going to get your dollars back. It looks great and it makes you feel good, but
not when you get a check.
Yeah, exactly.
when you're like, I made $2,000 on this for 3 months worth of work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
To me, if you're not making at least $25,000 to $30,000, it's not worth your time, your energy, just the absolute mental strain on you to do this whole process.
Mm-hmm.
And have I lost money on some deals? I have. I'm okay with that. But because most of them, I think all the ones that I've done, I think I've lost on 3 out of like 70.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good.
It's pretty good.
So as long as I keep those numbers up, the best flipper I know is Paul Kavzanowski. He's even lost on 2, and he had not lost in a decade. But it's even the best of the best. You're still going to lose money. It's just you can't avoid it. Just things happen all the time. I've got one here in Murfreesboro. We've had to do foundation repair, a new roof repair, the Bon Jovi song "Living on a Prayer." That's how both of them were. The bathrooms were holding up. There was nothing left. There was so much rot in the bathrooms. I don't know what was holding those bathrooms from caving in. We get to the laundry.
It's like MacGyver, right? Chewing gum.
Yes, we get to the laundry room. We're looking at doing the laundry room, and whoever redid the plumbing within the last 20 years did not connect the drain pipe for the washing machine. So you have 20 years of laundry water going underneath
just
the house.
Dumping in the crawl space.
Dumping into the crawl space.
You're lucky you got out with just a foundation repair.
Oh, it was $20,000 in foundation repair.
Still,
yeah, it's like that house should have caved in on itself.
Yeah,
like it just there was no gutters. The gutters that were up there hanging off full, and it just water. Southern people, put gutters on your house. Put gutters on your house.
And take care of them.
Yes. Clean them out twice a year. Pay some high school kid. Clean them out. It will save you literally thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Like Middle Tennessee, we live on limestone. It moves. Like you're going to have cracks in the foundation. To minimize your foundation repairs, clean out the gutters and have gutters.
have an extension. Get it away from your house. That's right.
It just drives me crazy. Like this is so simple.
I know. My buddy Jim Africano, so that's his thing. He does a lot of crawl space remediation, that kind of thing. And I bet you 85% of the time, the prescription is downspout extensions, a little bit of dirt so that it tapers away from the house, and that pretty much sums it up. Plastic underneath, maybe if it's not there.
I had one with that I bought. It's got water in the basement. I put new gutters on the house, new roof on the house, downspouts, and I put a 2 foot high mound of dirt around the house.
Mm-hmm.
There's no more water in the basement.
Problem solved.
And the issue was the owner was a deadbeat owner. He never went in the house in 17 years. They had I don't know how many dogs living on the inside of the house, and the dogs had run around from just running in the yard. There was nothing.
Wore it down.
So it wore it down. So everything was sliding towards the house, and so I fixed it.
Guys, that is such a simple thing to do and monitor, and you can almost always eyeball it.
Yeah.
And if not, like the actual grading, when it rains, you'd be like, oh, hey, look, there's water sitting against my block.
Yep.
That's a problem.
Yep.
You don't want that ever.
I grabbed 2 guys and my truck, 5 loads of dirt,
Problem
2
solved.
wheelbarrows, 3 shovels. We were out there for a day.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
Yeah. Throw a little grass seed on it and call it good. So, all right. So here's my next question. I can't remember if you do or not. Do you do any buy and hold, any rental property?
Not yet.
Not yet.
About to.
So what is your strategy as far as the flips first? And you said I'm about to. So is it building up a capital reserve in order to have something to hold? Is that the plan?
Yeah, because I got my butt kicked in 2008.
Oh, gotcha. You had some rental properties.
We were building new construction. It was me, my dad, and my brother. I was 27 when the market shifted, and we had $1.1 or $1.2 million in spec home debt, and we had 3 houses, 1 custom, and 2 lots. We sold the custom. We sold 2 of the houses. One of the houses almost had a second birthday, new construction.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had those 2 lots until 2015, and we bought them in 2006.
Wow. That was over off of Cason Lane? Is that right?
Yeah.
I remember those. Yeah.
And it was awful. And it wiped me out. And so I was single then. Now I've got married and I've got 2 kids, and I just cannot. I'm not going through it. And I know that a lot of people have bought some stuff and it's been great, but I cash in the bank. Cash is king.
Yeah.
Just being taught by my dad and my granddad's, just you put a huge down payment in, you have lots of reserves, and you can weather anything.
That's right.
Because my family, my family's been building since 1955 in Rutherford County. Mm-hmm. And my uncles went from building an average of 100 houses a year. They went to 12 in 2008 and then 4 in 2009, 4 in 2010. So it just went whoosh. And the only thing that saved them, high equity positions on rental properties.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then they picked back up.
Correct.
After that, right? But they weathered, like you said, they weathered the storm.
That was the only way they weathered the storm. That's what they said.
Yeah, it makes sense. Makes sense. So your strategy has been acquire, flip, bank, bank. And now you've got enough reserves where you can go and buy some stuff and let that money sit. So you're not of the mindset, because there's a whole bunch of different schools of thought on this, right?
There's tons.
You're not of the mindset that you necessarily take the equity out of your rental properties to acquire another one. You want the equity sitting there, and then you go acquire and you let the equity sit. Is that correct?
Correct. I'm waiting for those guys to go bankrupt.
Gotcha.
They're going to.
Yeah. Because they're just rolling it, right?
Correct. That whole concept, this whole idea of infinite banking, having $0 in investment properties, everything is appreciated, yes, and pulling out stuff, yes, I get that, and it's great. But when it corrects, what are you going to do?
And it always does.
It always does.
Right?
And here's the other issue. They changed this because I was a mortgage lender for a while. So the maximum you can get from most banks is 10 Fannie or Freddie Mac loans. Everything else, you're on commercial paper, or by the grace of God, you found a person that will do loans for you. So the maximum time you've got is 5 to 7 years with these banks. Look what Biden did with the rates. What are you going to do? Like, seriously, what are you going to do? I'm not blaming Biden. Like, we can't have zero Fed funds rate forever. Right. Like, it's just not possible. Right. Trump, Biden, whoever got reelected was going to raise it. So what's going to happen when all these guys that have bought in the last 5-7 years, they're going to have to refi their entire portfolios? And
it's double plus
correct
interest rate.
Correct. They're not going to be able to cash flow anymore. The banks are going to say, absolutely not. What are you going to do? Mm-hmm. They're going to have to liquidate. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then there's going to be a whole flush. Like I looked up this morning on the way here. So right now there are 1,212 active listings on RealTrax as of this morning. Is what my dad told me.
For Rutherford County?
For all of Rutherford County.
Yep.
This time last year, what, 100?
There's probably 150 to 200.
Okay.
But yeah, a whole lot more.
1,000 more.
I looked that up the other day, and actually it's probably a tighter margin than that. It was like 75% more listings year over year.
Wow.
Yeah. Active, right? Yeah. Not at that snapshot point. Yeah, and closings were down like 35% or something.
Yeah. It's going to happen. I hate it for people, but like you've got to figure it out. You've got to have cash because eventually, like, it's just going to happen.
Yeah. So how do you start then? If like how did you acquire? How did you get your first one?
My first one.
I know a lot of folks will take HELOCs on their personal residence.
I got a hard money loan.
Did you?
I didn't get a hard money loan.
How do you find that lender that's not going to just murder you?
Because I had experience previously building, and then I grew up in this business, and so I got that because of my mom's family and just that reputation that they have, and so that helped. And also, I've been a member of Real Estate Investors of Nashville since March of 2006. I think I took a year or two break when I had Adriana. But for the last 17 years, for the most part, I've been going to that.
So you plug yourself in.
Plug myself in, yeah, because that's how you learn. Like I've probably spent $1,000 or more on memberships with them. I've made hundreds of $1,000s from knowledge that I've learned there. It's getting into an organization, staying with it, learning people, finding people that are more successful than you and following them. You're going to make mistakes, but learn from their mistakes, and they're going to be able to help you. Like I get stuck, I'll call somebody. Like,
and I have found that the vast majority of people like that, like yourself, like the ones that you've learned from, if you just ask, they'll tell you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not like secrets necessarily. They may not tell you which house they're bidding on or which, who they're going to talk to today or something like that. But after they've done a deal, they'll tell you the story.
Yeah.
A lot of times they're proud of it.
Correct. People love to talk. I love to talk.
Yeah, same.
Just so other things that I've got, I track foreclosures from a lot of Middle Tennessee. Foreclosures is the big thing. That's whenever you're thinking about going. People think of foreclosure. That's how you're going to get a deal. Well, the issue is
there's not been
much. Yeah. So the average for Rutherford County since 2000, I track all this stuff, is almost 76 per transaction per month. And
76 foreclosures
transactions. So whether it happens or whether it gets foreclosed on or not, but the bank files a thing at the register of deeds saying, "Hey, we're going to start the foreclosure."
So it may not complete.
Correct.
Okay.
So
initiations, if you will.
Yeah. So the last time that we had that average was 2014.
Wow.
So 2020, the average was 11. 2021, 6. Last year it was 22. This year we're up to 25. But we're still a third of what we should be. So all these people that are still going after, they're going to show up at the courthouse. You have to have cash to buy a foreclosure. And so there's still like, if you're doing this business, you've got to be out networking with people, talking with people, going to events, sending out your letters, cold calling, whatever. You've got not just foreclosures. You've got to be out there.
So two thoughts on that. One, if that's your strategy is just foreclosures, number one, you got a lot more competition than some of the other strategies that can be employed. And two, I always like the reason why. So why are there no foreclosures right now comparatively, right? And the answer is really simple. They have equity.
Correct.
So if I get in trouble, if I lose my job or I get sick or whatever, and I'm about to lose my house, there is no reason, unless you've just absolutely destroyed that place, to lose it.
Correct.
There's no reason. You've got equity.
So there's two right now that are in the foreclosure. Actually, I'm sorry. There's three right now that are in Rutherford County that are actively in foreclosure. They're on the market.
Yeah. And they'll probably sell.
Yes.
And they may not make any money.
Correct.
But they're not going to lose money
Correct.
either.
So most of these people, like the rule of thumb is on foreclosures, it takes about 5 years before there's any kind of equity built up, typically in a market, not in the last 3 years, but typically in a market. Let's say 2014, if you buy something. So by the time a foreclosure process starts, it's about $5,000 in bank fees and attorney fees. It might be 4, it might be 6, but the average is about $5,000 that they add on to the back end, plus the missed payments and things like that. So most of the time, something's got to sit for 5 years with the owner-occupied person before it even has enough equity for someone to buy the foreclosure auction. So luckily, I looked at this also. So the average foreclosure listing right now for the month of March is they bought it February 1st of 17. So February of this year, the one before that was September 10 of 2012. So they've owned it for almost 11 years.
So they should be sitting on a ton of unless they've done some cash out refis or something like that.
Cash out refis or the modifications. A few of them have. But a lot of these people, I just don't understand. So I door knock, I cold call, I send letters trying to get foreclosures is one of the things I do like going after. But some of these people just shut out. Like, I just don't understand. Like, I'm trying to help you save your house one way or the other.
Well, I think some of that is denial.
Correct.
Well, this isn't actually happening.
I did. I went and door knocked on Thursday or Friday. Knocked on the door and said, "No, this is not the house." And then they gave me the address. That was exactly the address of the bank that just filed the foreclosure process last week. And no, it's some other house. Oh, okay. Sorry. Here's my card just in case you decide to sell. But
in case you come back to reality.
Yes. And I just don't understand. Like, there's thousands of real estate agents. Like, also there's government programs. Every county's got a program that you get grants. Churches will help you out. There's a state program that's called Save My TN Home. You go in there, you fill it out. Typically they run out of the money by the time August, September of the year is over with.
But the point is there's no reason to lose your house right now.
There's none.
Yeah.
And you can always sell it with J Harmon Home Team, right?
And we had 100% appreciation.
Correct.
Literally over the last 2.5, 3 years.
Correct. Because you sold me a house. I was looking at this. It was like 6-7 years ago. We bought it for $53,000 in Nashville.
I remember that place. It was rough, man.
It was really rough. There was so much.
There was an actual hole in the roof.
There was 5 holes.
Okay, there's one that I saw because it was like this big.
Yeah. So there was they had radiant heat, and there was so much poop from the raccoons that were living up there. The ceiling was caving in from all the raccoon poop, but the radiant heat kept it up, and just
That's right. The wire. I forgot about that part. Yeah.
And we got my wife to go in there, which was an absolute shock because my wife will typically not go into
that place
stuff.
Was bad.
It was really, really bad.
Yeah.
We fixed it up. We had addition on it. We sold it. It was great, but it's just like $53,000. That was what that thing was worth. Like now,
you probably paid a premium at that point.
I did. So like something like that now, I'd probably have to pay $150 because it's probably worth closer to $500,000 now.
Right.
The only thing that's changed is time.
Right.
Like Nashville has just absolutely skyrocketed in overall value, but like that house,
I totally forgot about that place. Man, it was rough.
It was nasty. It was 3 dumpsters. It's not the worst one I've did so far. Is 10 dumpsters worth of stuff in a house.
Oh my
the
word.
one on Hutchinson that I bought, and it was 10 dumpsters. 10.
How do you put that much stuff in a house?
I don't know.
It's like a TARDIS, man. It's like Doctor Who or something. It's just bigger on the inside.
Yes.
Because those aren't big houses over there.
No, it was around 1,600 square feet. And it was 10 dumpsters worth of stuff in the house.
Good gracious.
Yes.
Is that building material too, or is that just the stuff?
That building material.
Okay.
Because by the time we finally got to the studs, or not to the studs, the walls, they were so janky. Like they just had to go.
Did you guys see that moment? He just had a flashback, and do I need to get you a plastic trash can or anything?
Gosh, yeah. The worst one I've ever been in was downtown Nashville, close to Slim and Husky's. It's like 2 or 3 blocks from there. There was a burnt down Church of Christ, and it was 1 block from there. There was a path through the house. It was a 100-year-old house. There was a room. I am 6'2", and the amount of crap in the room was taller than me. Like I could not even get in there. And the heirs couldn't decide what they wanted because they knew they were sitting on a gold mine. I'm like, this is not a gold mine. You're lucky that someone didn't take a match and burnt this thing down because there was just so much stuff. And there was a guy that was living in there. The kitchen had fallen in. The bathroom had fallen in a little bit, but the commode, the studs had held it up. And so you had to go up to the commode because the floor had rotted away. And there was an old man that had lived in there. And he had I don't know where he had passed, but he had passed away. And it was,
so what do you do with that? Do you just bulldoze it?
I don't even know, because by the time you get all the stuff out of there, like it's a 100-year-old house, so that means it's got wood siding. It's probably got old plumbing,
two wire,
it's
screw
just everything.
Fuses.
Yeah, it's going to be just junk,
maybe even knob and tube,
probably.
Yeah,
and just.
Wow, and probably a Frankenstein of plumbing fixtures and different pipe materials. And
when it's that old, like there was no kitchens in houses back then.
Yeah, so it was added.
Yeah, so it was added, and the bathroom you guarantee is going to be added. So what kind of foundation is going to be connected to that house, and was it done properly?
It wasn't. And
then it was 100 years ago, and there was no codes, and there was no nothing. Just like, yeah.
At that point, the lot is worth more than the house.
Correct.
Yeah, for sure, especially in that location.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because you could probably, looking back on it, you could probably knock that thing down and build 2.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And highest and best use of the land.
Right.
And just
you gotta love it. So, not a fan of taking out of rolling money, rolling equity, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is a good, when you're looking at it? Because I've sent you some and you've passed on them.
Yeah.
You know, how do you evaluate it? What do you look at?
Is it a good job? How old is it? Because it seems like the older ones I get, the more, just the more issues that you've got.
Right. You open up this wall and you find 3 more issues than you thought.
Oh, we open up this wall. There's termite damage and there's this and that, and then just the old plumbing. Did they take it out? Did they take the old electrical out? The one on Hutchinson Street that I did. They left the old wiring. They just left it, and they left open junction boxes where they had redneck fixed it and all this kind of stuff. It's just. Price is the biggest thing, but how much work does it really need? How fast can I get in and get out?
Mm-hmm.
I would love to do paint and carpets. Those are very, very hard to find.
Yeah,
but
because they're, especially right now, because they're selling on the market.
Yeah, why would you sell to me when you go to listing? Like, I think the average is 90 to 91% of all houses that sold, they get listed by a real estate agent. That's just what it is. Mm-hmm. So I'm competing with a bunch of other people for 10% of the market that it's actually sharing, not 10% of the whole market. 10% of the total sales. So if 1,000 homes sell, there's probably another 100 that never make it to the MLS. Mm-hmm. That's just round numbers. And so it's me, and there's 1,000 members of Real Estate Investors of Nashville, and then there's 3 or 4 other of those networks. Like the numbers are greater than that, but it's a lot of people competing for a very, very small pool.
Right.
But the great thing about more listings means more opportunities, which means there might be deals again in the MLS. You just have to know what you're looking for. You have to find an agent that knows what they're doing, that actually understands numbers.
And you got to not. Here's the other thing, man. You got to take the emotion out of it.
Correct.
I really want to be an investor. I really want to do this. I really want to have, whatever. Calm down.
Yep.
Right. Say no way more than you say yes. Like 100 to 1.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And let me tell you why this is a bad.
Correct.
This isn't it.
One of the things I love about you is you have always been impressive about comps. Like, you are dead on what something was going to sell for. Most agents have no clue. Most of them are in it for commission only, and that's all they care about. They look at people as a commodity, look at the house as a commodity. Like, this is a transaction. These people are going to be here at least 7 years. That's the average. How long someone's going to stay in the house. You've got to know what it's going to be worth. And I'm going to buy an appreciation. And then that's horrible, horrible advice.
Yeah.
And my dad
always go conservative.
My dad has been, he's been in this business since 1985. And his thing is, the last 2 cycles that he's seen is when agents start getting in and more investors start getting in and buying stuff and paying ridiculous prices for things, the end is soon.
The last 3 years.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And just, it has to burst. It has to.
Yeah. Well, we don't like the term burst, Nick. We say correct.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah. Let's get our terminology right. You said something else, and I thought this was really interesting, and I'm backtracking a little bit, but you were talking about getting involved in REN, Real Estate Investors in Nashville. I have always adopted the mindset, and you may disagree, at least semantically with me, and that's okay. You can be wrong. Is that the whole concept of luck, especially in real estate? I just don't believe in it.
Okay.
Right? What I believe is that you position yourself to make luck. Right?
Yes.
So how did you know that first hard money lender that gave you money? Well, you positioned yourself. You've put yourself in a place, and you've made connections, and you've made friends, and you've treated people well, and you've done all the things that you need to do to where when the time comes, that person can pop up.
Yes.
Right? And how do you sell a house for a higher price? Well, you plug yourself in, you study. I bet I've previewed 20,000 houses in Middle Tennessee in my career, probably more than that.
Wow.
And because how do I sell something if I don't know what the inventory is? If I work at Best Buy and I've never played with all the TVs on the wall, how in the world am I going to sell you a TV?
Oh, that's a good one right there. Why? Well, that's a good one right there.
Yeah.
TV right there.
Why? Because it's $2,000 and I get a bigger commission on that. Well, no, that doesn't make any sense. You might need the $1,100 TV or the $500 TV, right? So, but if I don't know my inventory, I can't price the next house.
Correct.
And I definitely can't advise you on this house.
Yeah.
So you make your own luck, right?
Correct.
You position yourself, you plug yourself in, you make the connections, you treat people well, and all of a sudden, you're really lucky.
Yeah, because you return a phone call and you show up.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So if the next time that you're sitting around griping about, well, I don't know why he's just so lucky because fill in the blank. No, most of the time, you've made your own luck. Now, sometimes there's a little bit of luck because you were born into the right family or you've positioned yourself, your parents positioned you in this town, 30 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
Sure. But I know a whole lot of folks that have moved here, and within 3 years, they're very lucky because they knew how to make the connections correctly.
There's a guy here that moved here 3 years ago that's absolutely crushing it. Is doing a whole lot more than I'm doing when there's no deals in Rutherford County, and he's closing stuff left and right. Mm-hmm. He's got the right systems. He goes and meets people. He returns phone calls.
I mean, that right there.
That's huge.
It is mind-boggling to me how much money real estate agents specifically, mortgage lenders probably as well, and probably investors spend on getting their name and number out there, right? We hear, I just got to get my name out there, got to get my name out there, and then they don't return phone calls.
We had 8 showings.
It's like...
We had 8 showings this week, and guess how many reached out to us?
0.
It's beyond frustrating. Like, tell me what you don't like about the house. Like, I would love to know, like, is it price too high? Is it too small? Is it too big? You don't like the neighbors?
Maybe we can fix it.
Exactly.
Right?
But
open up the dialogue.
Yeah. Nothing. Still nothing. Market has shifted and still not reaching out. That just drives me insane.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, a little humble brag. I've got 10 contracts pending right now, right? But there's no deals out there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you get 10 contracts pending when there's no deals? You freaking work harder.
Yeah.
And you make calls.
Yeah.
And you contact people and you return phone calls and you monitor every single email that comes in with listings. You set up auto searches and you don't just let it drip over to the person. You look at it and go, hey, I know you haven't responded about this one, but let me tell you why we probably ought to at least go look at this house.
Yeah.
And then guess what? You go look at the house. Mm-hmm. I mean, you just work.
Yeah, it's work. So Dave Ramsey and his partner helped start Real Estate Investors of Nashville. And so the other guy that helped start it was Hal Wilson. Hal Wilson's been dead for a while, but Hal Wilson was a great real estate investor. Hal said, you'll look at 100, you'll like 10, you'll make offers on about those 10, you'll get 1, 2, or 3 of them. So it's basically 1 to 3% of every 100 that you go look at.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and sometimes it's less than that.
It is, but you've got to get out there and look because you've got to know what you like and what you don't like. And so I've got a list of things in my head that I like and don't like. There's a box that I like. When I get outside of the box, it's typically when I lose the money.
Sure.
So it's got to be, I like 1960s and newer. I like a certain price point. And I would love to do, I've never done a deal in Williamson County. Seth has, my brother. Mm-hmm. Those numbers scare me. It's just what it is. But it works for people. And there's people that are crushing it in Williamson County. I like saying $350 and less because if both mom and dad work, guess who can afford a $350,000 less house?
That's right.
Majority of the people.
Most everybody.
Correct. Yeah. And that's where I like to be. Doesn't matter what the county is. I can't really fit in that box in Williamson County. If I do, it's going to go up. I want to have a certain amount of money in the bank so that if I have a birthday on a house, a new construction house again, I can afford it. Because if you ruin that relationship with a hard money lender, your private money lender, or your bank, you're not getting it back. Mm-mm. It's just done. Mm-mm. And so you got to know your numbers on what you're doing and what you're looking at.
Well, and I'll add to this. So you said something different than this, but this has been my philosophy. I like working in my own backyard. Mm-hmm. So I have crews. I know I've done the majority of my work. And all of a sudden, my crew's like, well, I don't really want to go to fill in the blank. And so now I'm trying to scramble to find somebody that's trustworthy, right? Mm-hmm. And then you go back to your numbers there. If you call 12, 2 will return a phone call, and 1 will actually show up. And hopefully they know what they're doing.
I bought a house last January in Fayetteville. I never thought I would do anything at all in Lincoln County. We paid $60,000 for the house.
That's way on down there, man.
It is way on down there. I went down there a lot doing it because getting people to show up.
Sure.
We made good money on that house, but it took me in Lincoln County. There were 3 people that did installments for countertops. Guess how many people returned a phone call within the first 2 weeks?
Did any?
No.
Okay, I was going to say.
I finally had to call a corporate office like, hey, I'm trying to get a hold of yada, yada,
I'm
yada.
trying to give you money.
Yes, please take my money. And then people say, oh, we'll go down there. Really? You'll drive down from Murfreesboro, Nashville to go to Lincoln County to install stuff?
Yeah, to do a $1,500 job.
No, they didn't do it.
No, of course not.
So it's just like, I'm pulling back on that. There's one in Sevierville that I know of. Incredible deal. Is it even worth it? I've been going back and forth on it. It's just
how do you manage it? Like, so I have long-term rentals. That's been more my speed. And I like to be able to, on the way home from a restaurant on Thursday night, just drive by.
Correct.
And just see, hey, they didn't tell me they had a dog or whatever, right? Yeah. I can't do that if it's in Sevierville.
Yep.
Or Fayetteville.
So David Criswell's a good friend of mine. He's got, I think it's 60-something downtown Murfreesboro. Mm-hmm. Rentals. That's what he loves. It's downtown Murfreesboro.
Because he can go in one day and drive by all of them.
Yes, all of them. Mm-hmm. All of them.
David's a brilliant guy. He's a little weird. Love you, David. But he's a brilliant guy. So
he's in Florida. He's not going to see this.
Okay, perfect. Well, he's very weird then. No, I'm just kidding. No, he's a good dude. I'm a fan. And the way he's built that, he's done it right.
Yeah, he has. And so one of the other things that I track with this, it's not on this sheet that I've got here, is where you've been in this business long enough. Where was the hottest place for foreclosures the last downturn? In Rutherford County. You're going to know it.
Oh, it's my opinion, but I think it's actually factual as well. Laverne.
Yeah, it was Laverne.
By a lot.
By a whole lot. Like Lake Forest was ridiculous.
Lake foreclosure.
Yes, it was. And this time around, guess what? It's not those little houses that I was looking at this. You could buy all day, every day in there up until
$50 and $60 a square foot.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And now
my son and I were talking about that today, as a matter of fact.
Now they're $300,000 houses for these little starter homes that are 20 years old. That
they're not even 20 anymore, dude.
Yeah,
they're built in the early 90s.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of them. I've told people repeatedly, if I had a time machine, I'd go back to 2010, the very bottom, the very armpit of the market, and I would find a way to get $1 million
and buy
every single house that I could in Lake Forest.
So my thing was similar to that. So when you go downtown Nashville and there's a split, and you go north to where North Nashville was, or you go towards Madison.
Yeah,
right there, that bridge right there, that's called Fern Avenue.
Uh-huh.
In 2006, I told everybody I could, this is the next hot spot for Nashville. Where else can you see water in downtown Nashville? It was crime central, prostitutes, drugs, everything. It was awful. But like, this is going to turn.
Punchline of every joke.
Yes, and this is going to turn quickly. And I kept telling people, and nobody wanted to listen. Those are $1 million and $2 million homes because of that view, and it's only getting better because of how Nashville is, and just the convenience of downtown.
See, I don't need a view. I like the view in Lake Forest when I look at the piece of paper.
Yes,
you know what I mean. That's the
like
view
cash
I like.
Flow, yeah,
exactly.
Exactly. And so it's. I don't know where that next hotspot is going to be, but I track what's the zip code, the neighborhood, and right now it's just there's so little with 26 so far.
Yeah,
as of Friday, that's.
I like Manchester.
I like Manchester too.
I like Manchester a lot.
I've done flips in Manchester, so I talked to the Register of Deeds lady that's down there. I can't think of her name, but she's extremely nice, and they're extremely helpful. They have doubled in transactions starting 3 years ago.
I believe it.
It's just ridiculous.
I believe it.
There's all kind of title companies and agencies open up down there.
Think about it, man. COVID did what we've been, as a culture, been trying to do for 20 years, and that is to normalize telecommuting.
Yes.
Right? That's the old term, correct. Right? Work from home, whatever, right? And COVID said, no, we're doing it right now.
Yeah.
Like right now. You don't have a choice.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so when that happened, all of a sudden, 2 counties away from Nashville was fine. Do you have an internet connection? The frequency of that question when I'm selling a house has probably quadrupled. Mm-hmm. Does it have high-speed internet? Does it have high-speed internet? I never got that question in 2012.
I bet.
Like never, because everybody drove to work.
Downtown Nashville, here we go.
Right, exactly. And now it's like, okay, so I have to go into the office twice a month. Well, Manchester is right on I-24. It's an extra, whatever it is, 25 miles, right? But there's, other than Bonnaroo, there's never traffic there.
Correct.
Right? So it adds 25 minutes or 20 minutes to my commute. And other than that, I just can be there. And they've got everything you need. They've got a Hobby Lobby. They've got Walmart. They've got Jiffy Burger. Oh, it's delicious.
I love Jiffy Burger.
I love Jiffy Burger.
They got Cracker Barrel.
They've got it all.
Yeah.
So why do I need to live in Murfreesboro necessarily?
Correct.
Right? Especially if I'm moving to the area. I love Murfreesboro. I love Smyrna. But if I'm moving here, Manchester looks great.
If you want to go Chick-fil-A, there's one in Tullahoma.
There you go. And they've got the Celtic Cup in Tullahoma. It's a phenomenal coffee shop.
Never been there.
It's delicious.
They got that homemade chocolate place that I hit every now and then.
It's right across the street from Celtic Cup.
Okay.
Yes.
They're very good, too.
Yes, it is. See? Coffee County, y'all.
Yes. I just sold 5 lots in Coffee County and did really, really well on them.
Yeah. Highly educated population because of the engineering base. Mm-hmm. Yep. And 3 amazing waterfalls that you can hike.
Yes.
So
we've done them all with my family. It's great.
Yeah.
And Murfreesboro on a bad day, it's 30 minutes, 35 minutes to Murfreesboro.
Right. Well, minus Bonnaroo traffic.
Yes, minus Bonnaroo traffic.
Yeah, all bets are off. Just stay away that weekend. But, yeah. All right, man. Anything else you got?
I love real estate investing. I think it's a great way. Well, a friend of mine that I used to have lunch with once a week, his thing was if you buy a house, one house a year for 10 years, when you're old, like he said, when you're old like me, you don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
And it's not, you don't have to be one of these HGTV people. You don't have to get in, do all these flips. If you just buy one house a year, it's better than a 401k. It is.
Well, and so one number that I love, and we can do this real quick. And I know those of you that are investing, it is not like the end all be all, but it is a number to illustrate to a newbie why real estate investing, and for me, for long-term hold, okay? And that's a cap rate.
Yep.
Right? Now, is it the end-all, be-all? No. Okay? But what it does say is it shows you the cash flow on just the income. And then the market's going to do what the market does, right? So if you buy smart, you have appreciation on top of that number, right? And so if you're hitting an 8% cap rate on just the cash flow and you've taken out your expenses, like it's a true measure of cap rates, not just the rent, compared to the price, and you get 8% or better, and the market appreciates, normal is 3 to 4%, that's better than your 401k.
It is. Unless you're the Oracle of Omaha, but other than that.
Yeah, well, bless his heart.
Yes.
I know. I am not the Oracle of Omaha.
Not either. I'm not the Oracle of Smyrna, Tennessee either.
No, exactly. Right. So if you want to know more about that, let me know. And again, there's a whole lot more complex ways to evaluate stuff when you really get into it. But to me, that's a good way to start, and just to say, do I proceed to the next step?
Correct. It's okay to be cautious, but if you think about it and think about it and think about it, you're never going to do it.
So you're to launch.
Yeah, you got to do something. You got to try something. There are so many people out there that you can partner with. They'll help you. Just equity position. Do you want to take a bird dog fee, which is $500,000 for bringing a deal to somebody? You can wholesale it. So
500 to 1,000, not 500,000.
No, 500 to 1,000. Excuse me.
Just making sure.
Yes. And then I've bought deals of people. I've gotten $1,000, $2,000. My dad and I bought one. We made $73,000 in a week. We bought it, closed on it, and turned around and sold it to new construction builders in West Avenue in East Nashville.
Flipping contracts, you don't even have to close on it sometimes.
Correct.
Yeah, you make some money.
There's so many ways to make money in this business. So far I've counted, there's about 81 different ways to find a real estate deal just on single family homes. Not land.
But you got to work.
You got to
work. You can't just breathe it out on Facebook and all of a sudden you make money.
Correct.
You got to go after it.
Yep.
That's it. Nick, appreciate you, buddy. And if your event cancels next week, that seat's open for you, okay?
Right, thanks. Appreciate it.
I mean, come on, man. Brewery or a church. I'm just saying.
I host the event. It's kind of hard to skip it.
I got you. Nick Howell, ladies and gentlemen. And I guess that's it. Trent, you got anything? You know what I didn't do? I didn't talk about Bryan Nale.
We sure didn't.
Oh, my gosh. Bryan Nale. Do you know Bryan? You know Bryan,
yes.
Right? Primis Mortgage, big supporter of Spread the Positive, supporter of this show, and several others. And we love Bryan. Bryan helped me out this weekend, as a matter of fact, on the fly yesterday, wrote an offer, got me a pre-approval letter that made the deal happen on a Sunday night.
That's
nice,
that all having a mortgage person that actually knows what they're doing and helping close makes all the difference in the transaction.
No doubt.
Because if you've got someone that just doesn't care, they were going to screw up your deal.
Well, and so this same deal, it's in Coffee County, and on the way to look at the house, I was riding with my client, called him. We spent 25 minutes on the phone just talking about all the different, and I learned stuff in that. I've done multiple hundreds of deals at this point. And he's sitting here telling me this stuff, or telling me and my client this stuff. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that. How did I not know that? I don't know. I just didn't. Yep. But now I do, right? So it's good to have good people around you. So,
it is.
Bryan, we love you. Primis Mortgage, if you have mortgage questions, definitely reach out to my buddy Bryan. If you have real estate questions, reach out to me. If Nick likes coffee and food, so if you want to learn more about it, offer to buy this guy a meal at Jiffy Burger.
Yes.
If you find him down in Coffee County, and I'm sure he'll be willing to talk with you about some stuff. Trent,
awesome.
You got anything?
No, that's it. Appreciate you.
All right.
Good stuff.
That's This Week in Real Estate, everybody. Have a great rest of the week. If you're on spring break this week, drive safely, and we'll see you again real soon.